Bonsoir, French 203 students. Bienvenue au chapitre 8. Okay, so we've moved on from chapter 7. We're now moving into chapter 8. And we begin each chapter lesson looking at a culture topic. Even though we are doing cultural discovery projects, several of them during the semester, I think the beginning part of each chapter also gives us kind of another topic that we can think about and learn from as well. I think this particular lesson also gives us a good opportunity to think about some reading strategies that we can use when reading in another language like French. When you study any language, you learn basically, I would pick 6 different categories of skills that you learn. So those would be reading, writing, speaking, listening, grammar, and vocabulary, with grammar and vocabulary kind of permeating all the other skills. So the reading skill is the one that we'll really take a look at here in this lesson. Okay, so the topic we're looking at here is la cuisine régionale, the regional cuisine. And what I did in the paragraphs that we see on this page and the following page, and these are the first 2 pages in the e-textbook that goes along with Horizon and MindTap. It's all together in a package. And so we see several paragraphs about regional cuisine, and who doesn't like to talk about food, right? I could talk about food like all day long. And food in France is some of the most delicious food in the entire world for sure. And so this is definitely a topic we will like to learn about. Okay, so you'll see in the paragraphs that go along with the pictures, I've used 2 different colors to kind of highlight or point out some words and groups of words that I think will be helpful to us. And it's good for you to know also about this highlighting tool. If you click on any word in the text, you get a few different options. You can highlight in either green or yellow. You can add a note along with your highlighting if that helps you out. I really like to use color coding to kind of alert my mind to different things, especially in reading. So I think that this should be a helpful tool for you. You can create flashcards with the words that you highlight. I don't think the other tools are really that useful here. Maybe the read aloud might be useful. The other tools, I think, like looking up a definition, it doesn't give you a translation. I think it's because this is probably a tool that's embedded to other books from the same publisher, so that's probably not that helpful. Wikipedia, I think unless you're looking up a specific place, maybe, might not be that helpful either. Okay, so you know about the highlighting tool, and I think it's definitely a good one to use. Okay, so you might notice that I have highlighted some things in green and other things in yellow. The idea of the green highlighting is kind of pointing out the organization of this short essay that they've written here for us about regional cuisine in France. So to organize these ideas in my mind, and I guess that's the writer part of me, I think it's really helpful just to see the different topics and how the author put them together. And within each of those paragraphs that are highlighted in green, I've also highlighted some words in yellow. Those words in yellow are basically cognates, words that look really, really similar to English. And if we look just at those words and not even at the other words that are surrounding them, we can get a lot of information about that paragraph that helps us to understand. Okay, so I think a good approach is to take a look at a few of these paragraphs. I can read them to you. I won't read the entire thing word for word because I want to give you the chance to practice doing that yourself too. But we can look at some example paragraphs and see how this reading strategy works. Okay, so we'll start with the first paragraph just because it's a good introduction to the topic. Okay, il est d'usage de dire, dis-moi ce que tu manges, je te dirai qui tu es. And I think you can probably even guess what that saying is just by looking at the words you see there, the ones you know in French. You can go down to the bottom of the page and you can see a glossary of different words defined for you. The first one, it's very small there, d'usage de dire, commonly said. So it's kind of like saying, there's a saying that goes, tell me what you eat and I will tell you what you are. So in other words, you are what you eat. Okay, and often even essays in English begin with a saying or a shocking statement or a shocking statistic or a question or something like that. So they're using the same technique here. Okay. En effet, en France, vous pouvez beaucoup apprendre sur la région et le patrimoine d'une personne en regardant ce qu'elle mange. Okay, so the words I've highlighted here are en effet, région, patrimoine, personne. Okay, so en effet, I'm guessing is something like in effect, or in other words, a region, patrimony, that's something related to one's country, person. Okay, so I know that region, a person's cultural ties, has something to do with food in this article. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's keep digging a little bit further. The first paragraph I determined with my green highlighting is about la cuisine française in general. So the words that I've highlighted here are diversifié, région, traditionnelle, dépend, l'héritage culturel, produit, climat, varie. So I know that French cuisine is diversified. I know that it might be that way from region to region. Each region probably has its traditional dishes. Maybe it depends on the cultural heritage of that area, of the products that they have in that area. It might depend on the climate. The climate might be kind of variable from one part of the country to the other. I didn't translate this paragraph word for word, but just by looking at those cognates, I could already guess a lot of the meaning that is there present in that paragraph. So, I could go back, yes, and read it in a more detailed way and translate some words that I don't know, but I've already gotten 50 or 60% of the meaning of that paragraph. Okay, if we look at another example paragraph, l'Alsace se trouve à la frontière allemande et faisait autrefois partie de l'Allemagne. Sa cuisine bénéficie d'une forte influence allemande. Voudriez-vous goûter ces plats alsaciens, la choucroute garnie, les spätzle, la tarte flambée? Okay, so there are some specific food items they mentioned in that paragraph. I know in this paragraph they're talking about Alsace, which is a region of France right on the border with Germany. L'Allemagne is Germany, which you may already know. And we know that it's on the border, la frontière, partie, so okay, it was part of something in the past. Sa cuisine bénéficie, the cuisine benefits from something. There's an influence of some kind, allemande, a German influence. And if I wasn't sure about some of the names of these different dishes, I could definitely look them up. And we do have one picture here, but that goes with the next paragraph anyway. This picture right here is les spätzle, which is actually kind of a German dish, along with being from that part of France. But let's say, okay, I wanted to know a little bit about la choucroute garnie. Maybe I can look that up and at least see some pictures of it. Okay, so it's an Alsatian recipe for preparing sauerkraut with sausages and other salted meats and charcuterie, kind of like cured meats. Okay, so it looks like a very German-influenced kind of meal. All right. So I can definitely quickly Google some words, I can use my cognates, and I already know in this paragraph we're talking about some influences of German cuisine on French cuisine. Okay, dans le nord-ouest, à côté de l'Atlantique, les produits laitiers et les pommes sont parmi les produits agricoles les plus importants. Ici, on apprécie le poisson et les fruits de mer, la cuisine à base de crème et de beurre, et les desserts aux pommes. So now we're talking about the Northwest, next to the Atlantic, right? So I know we've moved on to another region of French cuisine. Okay, not all the words are super familiar ones maybe, or cognates even. I can definitely point out a few though. So produits agricoles, I know that agricultural products are going to be important there. That might give me some clue about what produits laitiers et les pommes might be. We know that people in that region might appreciate certain kinds of food like le poisson, les fruits de mer. And we know that cream and desserts might be important. So if I were to just check in the dictionary maybe what produits laitiers or les pommes or les fruits de mer, le poisson, if I checked those words, even here in the glossary at the bottom, I could get a pretty good impression of what regional cuisine in the Northwest is like. Dairy products, apples, fish, seafood, butter, cream. It all sounds really good, doesn't it? And a picture of a tarte aux pommes normande. So this would be an apple tart from the Normandy region. All right, let's take a quick look at the following page. Let's see if I can get to that. Sometimes it's a little tricky getting from one page to another here. It seems it's not going to let me turn to the next page for some reason. Okay. Well, normally there was a place to turn to the next page, but in any case, what we see here with this, and I would have shown you something similar on the next page, I think it's because of the recording software, it's not letting me turn the page very easily. What we would see on the next page is something very similar. Other regions of France, other kind of traditional cuisines that come from different areas of France. One might be food from the south of France, the Mediterranean region. And you know, the food there might be influenced by vegetables and olive oil and seafood. And so those might be other cognates that you would see on that page as well. So basically what I wanted you to get from this kind of mini lesson about regional cuisine is to know that there are different cuisines in different regions, of course, and that when you're reading a text in French, that I think it's very helpful to use these kinds of organizing techniques and context clues. So by organizing the reading with one color and by pointing out cognates with another color, you kind of get a sense of what's going on in that paragraph. So I think that can be a very helpful technique. Okay, so let's see if it's going to let us move on. I don't think so. It's not letting me turn the page here. Okay, so we'll stop there for now. I hope that gave you at least a brief tour of some of the kind of interesting regions of cuisine in France, and gave you this set of tools to be able to use cognates and organization strategies to your advantage when you're reading in a different language. So, à la prochaine, bonne chance!